Warning!
I am well aware of Disney's reputation as being a company that primarily targets children. This video, however, is not targeted at children. Frankly, I can't stand most children. This video will feature swearing as well as suggestive imagery and references and is intended for adult collectors and hobbyists. If you are a child, please close YouTube now and go watch Bluey or something. If you're a parent trying to figure out if Lorcana would be a fun game to play with your child, please make sure they aren't watching this video with you right now. I don't want to be responsible for you having to explain to your children why I said the word in a video about the Elsa game. You have been warned. Disney Lorcana is a Magic the Gathering clone. Is what you would say if you're a
stupid moron with an ugly face and a big butt, and my butt smells, and I like to kiss my own butt.
However, as far as us sexy normal people are concerned, the answer is actually a lot more interesting. You see, what Lorcana is a new trading card game from Ravensburger, makers of previous Disney tabletop game Villainous. And in this video, I'm going to attempt to help you figure out if it's something you'd be interested in trying for yourself. But first, groundwork. First announced back in 2022, Lorcana was a game that was met with an almost instant schism in the tabletop gaming space between those who were displeased at the idea of another IP-based TCG muscling its way into the market, and normal people. As news slowly trickled out and cards were previewed without the actual rules needed to give them context, the words Magic the Gathering clone began to form a tight noose around the neck of the still unreleased game. Now that the game has been released and is 2 expansions deep, the question is, do those accusations hold water? Well, at the risk of sounding like I'm huffing deep from the copium tank, this is kind of a Pokemon and Digimon situation. While they may appear similar to the uninformed onlooker, it's in the tweaks to the formula that things get interesting. Though sadly Lorcana doesn't feature Beelstarmon, so what's the point? Right, gameplay. Lorcana is a game in which 2 or more players take on the role of Illumineers using enchanted ink to summon glimmers of Disney characters old and new, sending them on quests to gain lore. Throughout the course of a game, these characters will use the power of actions, items, and songs in order to advance their cause until one player reaches 20 lore and declares victory. Hands away from the keyboard, I know what you're gonna type. Oh, it can't be a ripoff. We're counting up to 20 instead of down from 20. Yeah, great observation. You're definitely the funniest guy in your commander pod, but if you don't mind, we're trying to have a conversation here. Now, what makes the lore system interesting is that it isn't just a replacement for standard combat mechanics like those you'd find in Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead, it's a new addition to gameplay that adds an interesting layer of decision-making to each turn. The basic rundown goes like this. Each character card has 3 important values: strength, willpower, and lore. Essentially James Somerton for attack, HP, and lore. Character cards can be exhausted to add their lore value to your total lore, however, this is where things get interesting. You see, only characters that are exhausted can be directly targeted by your opponent's characters for combat, meaning that your 1-cost Maleficent that's worth 2 lore may be a good way to take an early lore lead, but her singular hit point isn't going to do her much good when you send your Cajun waitress princess her way with a piping hot tray of beignets and pain. With all of that in mind, deciding when to send your characters on quests and therefore expose them to danger will become the major moment-to-moment decision that will separate the Gastons from the LeFous. Now, at first it may not seem like this mechanic, which has been borrowed from the Digimon TCG, would do much to add strategic gameplay to Lorcana. But honestly, sit down and play a couple of rounds and you'd be genuinely surprised how much this singular addition gives Lorcana a unique feeling amongst other trading card games. But gameplay alone does not an interesting game make, so what about deck building? For many, including myself, this is often the most interesting part of a TCG, and Lorcana takes a simple approach that I personally appreciate. Cards in the game are split into 6 colors: Amber, Amethyst, Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire, and Steel. For those of us who aren't Steven Universe fans, that would be yellow, purple, green, red, blue, and gray. You'll choose up to 2 of these colors, and they will be the only ones that you can use to build your deck. Beyond that, you simply have to pick 60 cards and go to town. Personally, I like this approach. I think restrictions breed creativity and at least reduce the possibility of degenerate interactions. That is to say, unfun play patterns, not the kind of degenerate interactions that happen when I bring my Senran Kagura card sleeves to locals. What I see as another major advantage to this pick 2 colors and that's your lot system is that it lets us completely circumvent what I feel is the absolute worst part of Magic the Gathering: lands. As someone who's played Magic since Scars of Mirrodin, I feel like my opinion on here carries at least a little weight, and my opinion is I have always hated lands. Mana Flood, Mana Screw, Mana Cures, and frankly just deck slots being taken up by things that aren't my cool monsters and spells. Lands suck. So how are resources handled in Lorcana? Simple. Most cards have this little gold ring around their cost, and some don't. On your turn, you can choose one card from your hand with the symbol and put it into your inkwell. Congratulations, you will now never see that card again, and you will forever have one more resource available to play with your cards. Simple, elegant, Pongo. Now, those of you who were paying attention earlier might remember that I mentioned a type of card called songs, and for those of you who weren't paying attention, hey, put your phone down. I know TikTok has destroyed your ability to focus, but you're the one who clicked on my video, so come on, work with me. Okay, songs. What are they? Well, they're cool, that's what they are. Simply put, they are action cards that have a neat little extra ability. While you can just pay the cost of the card to play a song like normal, you can also exhaust a character whose cost is greater than or equal to the song that you're trying to have them sing, and have them sing it for you, thus playing the card for free. This means that you can have Christopher Robin sing about how he has friends on the other side, and boom, instant pot of greed.
That's not what it does.
Roll my dice! That is what it does! Pot of greed!
Songs are cool as heck, and yet another example of Lorcana pulling the old yoink and twist. And frankly, the yoink and twist is the best description I could give as to what I like so much about Lorcana. It takes familiar feeling mechanics and uses them to create something entirely its own and not derivative. And while we're on the subject of the old yoink and twist, I want to talk about the other yoink and twist mechanic that Lorcana brings to the table, Bloodborne cards, which is a yoink of the evolution mechanics that you'll find in the various Mon games. They are super appealing if you're the kind of person who actually has any attachment to Disney characters, which I would assume you are because I can't imagine any other reason you'd want to play the Disney card game. Now, what makes Bloodborne cards so cool is that you'll get to see new versions of characters you already recognize, but in some wild new forms. They're basically like AU versions of characters, so you'll see things like Hades as the King of Olympus, Cinderella as a knight, and Cinderella's evil stepmother as a gilf. In addition to being cool and having interesting effects, these cards are where you get to see artists really flex their muscles to create something neat. Now, I have spent a good portion of this video talking your ear off about what I like so much about Lorcana, and it's only fair in that regard that I tell you about some of the things that I don't like, because I would be lying if I said that there weren't things I disliked. Firstly, this game makes an awful first impression. I maintain that one of the worst sins a trading card game can commit is to have boring starter decks. And boy, howdy does Lorcana need to go to confession and follow it up with a few Hail Marys, because these starter decks are about as interesting as your average isekai and don't even have the tits to make up for it. Full of vanilla units and uninteresting support cards, it will only take a few starter deck games for things to start to feel pretty old if you aren't at least a little bit of a Disney adult. However, those of us who have walked through the Valley of Death's shadow before know that oftentimes this is just par for the course. TCG creators are often afraid of scaring off potential players by starting them off with a copy of Nirvana High Paladin, so just rest assured that the game is far more interesting than hoping to draw into the single copy of Aladdin Heroic Outlaw that they deigned to give you in the starter deck. You just need to get your hands on some packs and build something better. However, that leads to my second major gripe. That is to say, Lorcana has, for the first few months of its life, been interesting to try to get a hold of. The release schedule is supposed to go like this. A batch of the new set is sent to the LGS, and then a couple weeks later, the set hits big box retailers. Beautiful, right? The LGS gets the initial sales boost, but players have the option to pick up a pack when they're already at the Walmart replenishing their Mountain Dew and Dorito supplies. However, the reality of the situation is a lot more like this. Your LGS will sell you a box or a bundle of packs for about $20 above MSRP if you're lucky, and after the first wave of product sells out, you're more or less SOL. If you wait 2 weeks for the retail release but don't camp outside of the store overnight, you'll be pleased to find that your local Walmart has been cleaned out by scalpers who ran straight to eBay to flip each individual pack for at least double MSRP. If you then proceed to complain about this online, you'll be responded to by smoothbrains who will say that because they had no trouble finding product in their town where nobody plays, this obviously means that their experience is universal and that the players who can't find product are obviously not looking hard enough at the bare shelves where only packs of Paradox Rift fill an otherwise cold and emotionless void! Sorry. Those of us who actually play new trading card games when they come out know that this has sadly just been par for the course for a while now. And while it does seem like things are at least getting a little bit better for players who want to be able to just buy product at MSRP, the truth of the matter is that we still have a long way to go. At least if the fact that Amazon had to introduce a queue system of all things for people to be able to buy booster boxes of Set 2 is anything to go off of. So, where does that leave us? Well, the answer to that is another question. Do you like Disney's stable of characters and worlds? If you do, then Lorcana's a fun game with cool art that already shows a commitment to giving love not only to Disney's biggest hits, but also the less popular entries from their media catalog. Pick up a couple of starter decks, grab your closest Disney adult, and go to town. If you don't like Disney, well, Lorcana's probably not going to be the thing that causes you to buy a set of mouse ears and book a trip to Anaheim. I advocate trying just about any TCG that you think might interest you, but if you're the kind of joyless sad sack that can't enjoy a game where Dwayne the Black Adam Johnson sings Let It Go so hard that he causes a Peruvian man-child to explode into a pile of magical ink, But for now, toss me a sub if you thought this was an entertaining way to waste just a few more of your precious moments left on this earth. Toss this video to any of your friends who you think might be interested in Lorcana, and while you're here, remember that this has been a powerfully pointless video, but I hope you enjoyed it anyways. Okay, last video recording session of 2023. As I sit here, it is 11:42 a.m. on the 31st of December. So I am squeezing this one out just in time. And as we head into the new year, this is also the second video that I am making that I've actually tried to make a script for. I'm actually pretty happy with this one. I thought I'm really happy with all the jokes I managed to get in here, and for me, I think it's pretty funny. Go ahead and let me know if you thought it was also pretty funny. Lorcana has been an interesting and fun experience so far for the time that I've played it. I wasn't sure what to expect going in. I am a massive fan of a lot of Disney properties. I wouldn't say I'm a full-on Disney adult, but I like mainline Disney, and I'm really hoping that the game is eventually going to incorporate other things that Disney owns, like, obviously Marvel, Star Wars. Technically, Disney owns The Simpsons, so that would be actually kind of funny to see, like, Homer Simpson in Lorcana form. But if you do play Lorcana, just go ahead and drop a comment in here in my comment section. Let me know what kind of deck you play, what kind of decks you enjoy, and what characters you'd like to see. The big one that I'm really hoping to see that is more realistic is Atlantis. Like most millennials, I love Atlantis. As for my current deck, I think the one I've gotten the most use out of is a 7 Dwarves Tribal that's been treating me pretty nice. It's yellow-blue. The blue just uses an item engine for draw power. But yeah, I guess that's about it for this video. Let me know what you thought. Alright, see you next time. Bye!